tell us about your Halloween thus far, Dwayne.
Hey guys, so Halloween, yeah, it's a big deal in Canada, and I have two daughters. I have a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old, and as you can imagine, if people are in your neighborhood offering candy to you, these at that age, they're like, "Let's go, go, go." My older one is definitely at that stage where it was time. Like she wanted to, she was actually running from door to door. But my younger one, still a bit sick. Guys who follow the channel, you know, my younger daughter is named Lumina, and she's got, I don't know, she's been hit by something. And I actually
Beautiful
just
name,
found
by
out.
the way. Where did that come
Thank you
from,
very
Lumina?
much. You know what? Kind of like a funny story. My wife was pregnant. We went to a wedding. We knew no one, and you get stuck with like the people at the table with like you don't know anybody, they don't know anybody,
Yeah.
and it's like we all share. We're friends with the groom or the bride, but we don't know others, and so we got stuck there. And we're sitting next to a young lady, and her name was Lumina. Same thing, and we looked at each other like as soon as we introduced ourselves and she said her name, we looked at I looked at my wife and she looked at me and I was like, that's beautiful. If we're having a daughter, like we just telekinetically told each other through our minds like if we're having a daughter, that's what we want to call her. And then as it happens, I was talking to Llama about this before we got started. But this is my daughter Lumina, my second daughter, the daughter who doctors had said that she probably wouldn't make it the day we met her. She'd probably die. And so obviously a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety there. And then, but that day we learned kind of some of those details. They told us that she was a girl. And so we were having a second daughter. We had already decided we wanted to name her Lumina if she was a girl. So it was like both this like terrifying moment, but also this really exciting, joyful moment where we were naming her. And I remember me and my wife went up to like a park nearby, and we just walked and talked about all the things that we just learned. And we decided Lumina because it was appropriate. And if you don't know, Lumina comes from the word lumen, and lumen is like a portion of light from a body of light. And so it's like she's like a little fraction of like God's light. That's so to us it felt really appropriate. And yeah, that's her name, Lumina Jubilee.
It's a beautiful sentiment. I love it.
Thanks, man.
It's
Yeah.
really nice. Yeah, I don't think myself I'm ready for kids anytime soon. I don't think I have the mental capacity to look after kids at the moment. I should probably learn to look after myself first. So we thought we'd do something a little bit different to our usual content, discuss some of the latest changes that are coming up in Splinterlands. And basically, if you guys like this format, be sure to let us know in the comment section, and perhaps we can do something like this in the future and get more people in on it, and perhaps some devs or other YouTubers and things like that. But firstly, I guess, how did you get into Splinterlands, Dwayne?
Splinterlands came to me through Steemit. Have you been around crypto long enough to remember Steem and Steemit?
No. Well, I have been around in crypto for long enough, but I haven't really used Steam or Steemit.
And there was and fair play, because there's like there's so many cryptos, like 5,000-6,000 cryptos now. Well, Steem is quite old. Steem's but then let's see what Steem was one of my first cryptocurrencies that I got into, and I heard about Steem because it was the finance that backs the social media experience that is Steemit. And so Steemit was like a blog, like a Reddit type thing, where you would go and you would write a blog about whatever you're interested in, and you would receive upvotes. And those upvotes would do a couple things. They would improve your reputation in the marketplace, like within the social media website, and it would also give you a certain amount. It would print a certain amount of Steem that you would receive, or Steam-backed dollars that you would receive as a reward for that authorship. And it's actually a lot like
Splintertalk. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And later, actually, Hive blog became like but it started with Steem, and Steem was created by Dan Larimer, the EOS guy.
Yep.
And I feel like I hope I'm not making the mistake there. I'm pretty sure Dan Larimer created. I just don't want to be wrong about that, and then have 5,000 people.
I was about to say, you better get that right, otherwise the people in the comment section with their pitchforks will come after you.
Yeah, Dan Larimer and Ned Scott. And so anyways, I was telling you before the video started, I'm very libertarian, meaning um, there shouldn't be people interrupting what I mean to do with my money and my time and my day. It should be between me and you, whether we strike a deal to exchange goods and services for, for value. And blockchain unlocked social media for me in a unique way, and Steam It were the beginnings of that, where I started to recognize for the first time ever that my time, that's where the time and attention thing I say on my channel, time and attention is worth something, because Instagram, Google, Facebook, they are monetizing you.
Yep.
Well, Steam is monetizing you, but then you actually benefit. And then through that, that's where Steam Monsters came from. And that's what became later Steam Splinterlands. And so that's the story. I got through it through just like having to fall in love with kind of the first iteration of like blockchain social media that was Steam It, really.
Yep. That's perfect. If we can make money off posting simple articles and things like that, brilliant. More power to us. And that's, if you guys haven't heard about Splinter Talk specifically, that's one way to monetize your contributions to the game and to the community, which is fantastic. You can simply write an article about Splinterlands and be profitable because of that. And
are you on Splinter Talk?
Yeah, I use Splinter Talk as well. I usually post my videos and just a brief synopsis of my videos on Splinter Talk as well.
Cool.
But yeah, you're on there as well, presumably.
I am, but I'm mostly there. I have I have like 80,000 SPT now or something like that, and
Nice.
It's like meaningful.
Do you stake that?
I do.
Yep.
And so I'm happy to, and we have a Discord. I have a Discord. It's my guild Discord, but we have like a public element to it, and anybody who is interested in Splinterlands wants to come out and hang out in the Discord. And if you want to share quality content that is Splinterlands related, and you want to post it in a specific we have a channel for that. I will actively go in there and find quality posts and upvote them for it's probably only 25 cents, but frankly, like I say with Splinterlands, 25 SPT is like 25 cents now. But just like the modern reward cards, I don't really think it's worth that. You have to separate value from price, and these are tokens that I imagine if this platform really takes off, could be really meaningful. So food for thought. And I'm going to start following you, Llama. I'm going to start and make sure I upvote your stuff.
Yeah, nice one. I'll do the same for you after we finish this one too. Another thing actually which Splinter Talk has brought to us recently is the NFT space. Have you heard about that, and are you interested in that at all? Specifically, I love one of the updates that they've made recently, where they're going to introduce user NFTs or Splinterland NFTs. And some of those contests, if you've seen any of the art contests on Splinter Talk or Peaked and that kind of thing, some of the contests, the artists that come out of just the community are incredible. There was one that I saw recently, which was an NFT of the Undead Priest. An animated undead priest, and my god, that was amazing. I'll pull it up on the video so that people can see that one. Yeah, if you haven't seen that kind of thing, it's incredible. But what are your thoughts on the NFT space in general and Splinter Talk?
So I haven't dabbled in it a lot, but I do consider, and I'd like to hear what you think about this, but I think of the Steam Monsters, the Splinterlands cards that we're receiving as NFTs, and I know they're not technically, because they are almost fungible in the sense that if I have one card, let's say I have one BCX of the Wavesmith, and you have one BCX of the Wavesmith, they're theoretically directly exchangeable. But there's an NFT function or element to it if you think about it, because when I have a Venari Wavesmith, I can merge 20 copies into one, and then I have a different Venari Wavesmith than you do, which is only one BCX, and they're not fungible. And I know it's not the exact same thing, but it's important to think about. I think about them in the same, let's say, world. But I understand NFTs are generally speaking completely unique, and they're often artwork. I think it's cool. I've never personally collected any of them. I've been actively pursuing and exploring the marketplace though on Splinter Talk and looking at the NFTs, and I'm currently looking at it right now on my screen. and they've got the new featured NFTs, and they've got some untamed ones, and you can pay for them with SPT. If people watching it on my side here haven't tried this before, and if you're into this, it's one more reason why holding SPT is an important thing. And I think it's another example why the devs of this game are really smart. The way they interweave and interconnect their assets and their building, like Splintertalk, the SPT token, that gives you airdrop points for the SPS.
Yep.
And it's just all interwoven.
Yeah,
it's really
creating
cool.
all these use bases for the different tokens of the ecosystem, which is fantastic. I mean, I think NFTs have obviously blown up recently. I think we can, I guess, thank a lot of celebrities for this and jumping into this space and pushing. It is incredible though. Like, some of these punk NFTs and things like that going for millions of dollars for pixelated faces of whatever it is. It's that's a bit crazy to me, but I enjoy Splinterlands. So, everything that comes with Splinterlands, and whether it's NFTs of Splinterlands as well, I've been collecting a few of them too. I've been purchasing a couple of them because these could potentially, increase in values down the road.
Yeah,
and
I fully agree. I think there's so much excitement here in this space. And I think in blockchain-based video games and anything, and that touches on just story, the general idea, like, because you've heard Aggie talk about how they want to do, they actually have a grand vision for even making like some sort of Netflix type experience. So there's so much here, and there's so much, and you've heard, is it Cryptomancer, or who's the guy that kind of handles the lore? I forget now.
Yeah, I believe it's Cryptomancer. Oh, no, maybe. I'm not too sure.
I can't remember. Oh, Aggie. His last name is like AGUI, Aguilera or something. I forget exactly who. Anyways, the person at Splinterlands involved with the lore, like it's just so clear that they want to make layer upon layer upon layer of it. And I think the NFT is just another dimension of how I can appreciate this system, this ecosystem. So yep. I agree with you.
There's been talks of Aggie's mentioned in a few of the AMAs of comics and TV shows, movies, and that kind of stuff with Splinterlands. That would be incredible. Imagine watching a TV or like an animated TV show or something of Splinterlands. That would be insane. And with something like that would just create all the more fuss within the space and probably get a ton more people on board.
I would think so. Yeah, and I'm looking at a bunch of the NFTs on the market at Splintertalk on my side here, and some of them are really beautiful. I haven't fully looked at these before, and they're not cheap. Like I'm looking at Alpha Dragon Team. It's three of the dragons, and they're flying through the air. Like, they're just really attractive artwork.
Yep.
And actually, you were saying, that's one thing I wanted to mention earlier. You were talking about some of the really quality artists that are out there doing this stuff. I'm super interested in actually having some people come get in contact with me. So if you know anybody, Llama, that's like really talented that you personally can recommend, I would love some help with some like guild related artwork. And so
I wish I did. It's more of a case like I'm a one man band, I guess, and this is most YouTubers, isn't it? Until you really take off. But currently I'm editing all the videos, I'm creating all the graphics for my videos and for my channel and all that kind of stuff. So unfortunately I don't, but I'm happy to help you out on bits and pieces if you need, but I don't know anyone specifically.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so myself getting into Splinterlands, I've worked and studied finance all my life, whilst contemporaneously being a gamer as well. I love games. I used to play Counter-Strike professionally in in the World Cyber Games and all that kind of stuff, and we were sponsored and got flights and all that kind of thing, which was cool. But I think the moment I stepped into crypto was with Bitcoin, and just a quick story. I purchased Bitcoin. This was it was probably maybe around 2010, and I stumbled across Bitcoin by accident. I went to a website. A guy was offering an ebook which could only be purchased through Bitcoin, and at the time I had to purchase 25 Bitcoin. right?
Wow.
So it was 25 Bitcoin. That was the package that I had to purchase, and it was around about $5. So I purchased the 25 Bitcoin, and I paid him 5 Bitcoin for his ebook, which ironically was about smart investing.
Nice.
And so I had 20 Bitcoin remaining, and I have since tried to find that account. It was in one of my old email accounts, and I contacted Microsoft, and after apparently two or 3 years of inactivity, they removed the accounts.
Oh.
So there is 20 Bitcoin of mine sitting there somewhere, which I don't have the keys to the account, and it's basically to a burnt address on the blockchain somewhere. So right now I could be a multi-millionaire, but that's not the case.
Nothing that crazy, but that's wild. I just did the math. It's like roughly $1.5 million.
There we go. 1.5 million, which is
US,
probably US. So it's probably a couple of mil in Australia. Yeah, that's you've got something similar, do you? Nothing that terrifying, I hope.
No, nothing that terrifying. But I did. I used to buy IOTA. Do you know
Yes,
IOTA?
Yep.
So IOTA is interesting. It's like kind of. It's not just a blockchain. They do that. What is it called? It's a tangle. That's what they call it. And but they like instead of one block connects to the next block and it's the sequential tracking of data.
Mm-hmm.
They do, it's more, it's not randomized, but it's more decentralized, and I won't go further into that because I wouldn't be able to do a good job, but it's an interesting blockchain. So I bought several thousand of them a few years ago when I was in crypto, and there's something, or there at least used to be, I don't know if it's been fixed yet, but there used to be this problem where you couldn't send IOTA to the same address twice. You had to send it to a different address.
I know where this is going, Dwayne.
Yeah. And of course, because I'm a good crypto guy, like I know you got to just send a little bit the first time because you don't want to make sure you can't send $5,000 worth of crypto to the wrong address.
Correct.
So I'm just going to send 10 IOTA and I'll make sure it gets there. And then I'll send the other thousands of dollars. And so I think it was about 4,000 or 5,000 IOTA. And I don't know what IOTA is at now, but it's nothing compared to the story, the frustration you just shared.
So wait, you did send it to the same address and lost it all, was it? Yeah. Oh man, it hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's part of the learning. It's on it. Like we are, like they say, crypto holders are their own bank, and that sort of freedom is deeply important. But it's also complicated and risky.
Yeah, this revolution of decentralization. We're experiencing it for the first time, and it's an incredible thing. But it doesn't come without its mishaps, as we've seen. So you're a bit of an old soul, Dwayne. You're a bit of an old soul. I like I obviously tune in onto your channel quite regularly, and you've got these golden nuggets of knowledge. You've obviously faced a bit of adversity throughout your life, or some heartache and pain or something. I feel like generally people who have been through a lot of things turn out to have far greater insight rather than most, and that seems to be you in a nutshell, really. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I guess first of all, thanks a lot. I think that is a compliment. And I enjoy your channel too. And when I listen to you, I think this guy really knows what he's talking about. This guy has, wisdom and insight. And so I take it as a compliment that you would say that to me. Thank you.
Yeah, very welcome.
And I guess, you're right. I think to be perfectly fair, I think when we're honest with ourselves, that we've all, like there's a dark road that we each follow, but maybe mine's been a little darker so far. I mean, there's been alcoholism and drug abuse, and I've been sober now since 2013. And
man, congratulations.
Thanks, man. I guess I quit drugs like a little while later, but September 2013, I had my last drink, and it was because I just recognized that it was actually making me a bad husband. And like there was one night, and it was one really, like I was pissed, like pissed drunk, and I was being dismissive and cold to the person that I'm supposed to be dearest to and most gentle with and, most tender to, my wife. And the next day she was heartbroken about how I had treated her. And if people who are watching have been there where they've been so drunk they don't remember everything, that was me. And to look at your wife who you love and for her to say to you that you like essentially I broke her heart in the way I treated her and the coldness that I approached her with. And it's like, I don't have any excuse. There's nothing you can say. I can't make it right. I can't fix it. And it was like that day I just said like, and this is probably like 3 months after I had started going to church and getting to know, having a relationship with Jesus. And I know probably some people feel that that's all like, silliness or whatever. But for me, like I really strongly believe that relationship is genuine and that it's put me down a different path. And on that day, when she said those things to me, I was in a place where I could hear it. And I'd tried to quit alcohol for many, many years. And, maybe I'll just drink one beer. Maybe I'll just drink. So I'd create these rules, maybe two. I won't go out on this time, or I won't drink on weekdays. These different rules as if that was going to help me. And for me, it never helped. But then this moment came and it was like a slap in the face. And that sent me down, like it just woke me up to the reality of what I was doing. And so I haven't had a drink since. And that was kind of the beginning of things. But as we pointed out before the cameras turned on, I have a daughter. I have two daughters, 7 and 5, and little Lumina, she's number 2. And before we met her, the doctor said that she probably would die. And, to sit in there with these, and we live in Vancouver, near Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And that's, we have very sophisticated medical systems and some of the best doctors in the world, especially pediatric. And for them to say that, like, these are the experts, and you think it's done at that point. But then again, it was just like we just went home and just prayed over stuff and just felt like I remember just asking God that He would just give us her for a time. I didn't know what that meant, but of course I want her to be perfectly healed. I want her to be perfectly typical. But then, she isn't. She has seizures and she has her own complications. But I was saying to Llama before the video started, what's really great about that? Like there actually is a genuine silver lining about her hard life, which is that it forces me, her father, to recognize the fact that, like we all have terribly hard lives if we're being honest. And it's like anxiety, depression. Some of us have cancer, or, we know others who have. We've lost parents, or we had bad parents, or, whatever the case may be, you're coming through it. You're being drugged through it also. And so, sometimes people look at Lumina and they say, oh, I'm so sorry that she has that trouble. And I think in my heart, like, oh, I know that you have trouble too. We all do. And so the only thing about Lumina that's different really is that she makes you remember that every day. And it might sound horrible because it's beautiful like, oh, that's so sad. She's a cute little girl. Like, well, I wish she didn't have that. I wish she didn't have that too. But she does have that. And in some ways, it helps you remember how important every moment is. Because like the doctor looks you in the eye and says she's going to die within 10 minutes of meeting you. And you're like, will I be able to if she does, can I hold her for an hour afterwards just to be with her? And I remember thinking like, and she's crying, the doctor's crying, and she's like, yeah, that would be fine. But here she is, she's 5 years old. She's going to kindergarten. She has tons of joy in her life. She has a great relationship with her big sister. And so is her life perfect? No. But is she the way that she's supposed to be? And is there tons of love and joy in that? Yes. And so that's like those are two big parts of my story. And I think that's part of where it comes from. It's like, I have a different, I do understand that I have a slightly different outlook on life because I've seen some of this stuff, but I think it's important. And I try to talk about it on the channel when people are interested and ask these questions. It's like, we all have this, but are we looking at it? Because we're not, we sometimes live like we have 80 years on this world. We don't get promised anything. And that's what Lumina helps me remember every day. It's like, today is a gift. Enjoy it. Yeah.
That's beautiful, man. That's really, really nice. And an all-encompassing answer. Yeah, really, really nice. And I think, yeah, born out of this adversity, you are obviously, you've learned a lot, and you've gained a lot of insight into these kinds of things. And it's really nice to hear you talk about it. So hopefully everyone else feels the same way too. I had a similar situation as actually when I was growing up. I had severe asthma. Thankfully, I've grown out of my asthma now. And, you know, one would think that it wouldn't cause such issues, but I went to hospital for an asthma attack, and I was given drugs which I was allergic to while I was in hospital, and I was comatose. And so I had a machine breathing for me, and I spent 2 weeks in intensive care. And they basically said to my parents, it's time to say goodbye to your son.
Wow.
He's most likely not going to survive the night, and if he does, he'll most likely have severe brain damage because I wasn't getting any oxygen to my brain.
Wow. For how long were you not getting oxygen?
For 2 weeks basically, and
What?
I was intubated, so they had a machine breathing for me, and I was just comatose. But yeah, so I battled through it, and I ended up waking up. I remember waking up on the ward in hospital, and I just couldn't move. It was extremely scary for me at the time. I couldn't understand what was happening. This was when I was 10 or 11 years old, so I didn't know, I couldn't understand why this was all happening. And one of the nurses came over to me and grabbed me underneath my arms and said, it's time to get up. It's time to get up. Now, time to have a walk around, and sort of picked me up, and I just fell flat on my face. And so the complications from the asthma attack and the lack of oxygen, I was basically disabled for 10 years. I spent 10 years of my life in a wheelchair.
Wow.
And it wasn't just my legs that were affected at the time either. It was my arms as well. So I couldn't pick up a glass of water or, anything like that. So it was a pretty rough time and pretty rough period of my life. But I look back at it and like you do as well on the things that have happened in your life, and I think that it's perhaps made me a better person, and I've become more patient with myself and with other people, and that's all because of the adversity that I went through. So yeah,
isn't it? You'd never wish it on anybody, right? But then
No.
there it's not just like a trite little expression that these events in our lives really do build good things. It's like some people say that, and it's like it feels like fake or just like a trite little statement, but it really does. Like, it changes something about you. I think if you're willing to have it or something, because I know that sometimes adversity can break you, right?
Yep.
But if you can get through it, it's like there's this fire that forges you and makes you something stronger, I think.
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, I became jaded throughout that time to bullying and all that kind of thing, because obviously, kids are usually quite nasty habitually when they're around groups of people and things. So throughout school, basically in my adolescence, I kind of lost that, and had my fair share of bullying because I was different at the time. I lived life in a wheelchair for such a period of time that you looked differently, and but overcoming that, it's made me a stronger person and more determined with life in general, and I don't tend to quit on things anymore. Like when I was a kid, at the sign of anything which was difficult for me, I'd just bow out and go, yeah, okay, that's too difficult, I'm not going to do that. But after spending 10 years of my life every single day doing physiotherapy, occupational therapy, learning to move my hands and the simplest of tasks, you become more determined and I guess grow a harder shell for life that follows. But anyway, let's talk about what we're here to talk about. Let's talk about Splinterlands. How about that?
Do it.
Let's do it. So Chaos Legion. It's planned to, on the last AMA. I heard Ag saying that it's planned to, we're going to be able to open packs in December. That's exciting.
Yeah, the early it sounded like I think if I heard correctly, between the first couple weeks. So it's going to be before Christmas. So we'll all have a Christmas, an extra Christmas present under the tree this year.
That is the only Christmas present that I care about. To be
Yeah,
honest, it's like I'm. That's all day. That's my Christmas. That's if I
yeah,
don't
man.
receive one other gift, that's fine.
It's so exciting. Are you accumulating packs? Are you hoping to wait until after pre-sale? What's your plan?
Well, this is the thing, right? I'm listening to the last AMA. I'm a little bit worried about how long packs are going to be around for. We've heard. Okay, so we've got the pre-sale now. We're getting the distribution of vouchers at the moment, which is great. And then for the next 2 million packs after that, we're going to have vouchers as well. But in my understanding, the rate of the distribution will increase, will doubly or something
Yeah.
to that
Yes.
effect.
Yeah.
So, that's great. But what happens when Ags also mentioned though that he's got some whales contacting him with $1 million plus orders? So what happens after these vouchers? We've gone through the period where we can use our vouchers. So for the first 3 million packs, what happens then? I honestly think, and why wouldn't they? Considering the growth that this game's had and previously with other packs, why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't Wales just jump in and just go, well, okay, I'll throw $1 million to $5 million into this,
Yeah.
and in 3 to 6 months I can probably double or triple that with the change in
Yeah.
or the cost of packs. If you had the means and you understood the game's the return of this game,
Yep.
why wouldn't you entertain something like that?
I totally agree. Yeah, I mean, if you look at Untamed packs on Hive Engine, they're $70, $71. If you look at Dice packs on Hive Engine, they're $71. What else? There's those orbs. If you look at the orbs, they're selling for $150. The orbs were a mini pack, so there were fewer of them to begin with.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, man, like the it wouldn't take much money, right? It would take. I was doing on a live today, and I was just talking about like, what if somebody? I'm confident people will want 10,000 packs. Like
Right.
there'll be some big, like 10,000 is not even that much. It's like $40,000. 10,000 packs times $4 per pack, $40,000. That's from a Bitcoin standpoint. And think of all the people that have made significant money this bull run, watching Bitcoin go from like $3,000 or I remember maybe it was $4,000 at the low, up to now 60 some thousand dollars. And some people are projecting Bitcoin's going to reach over 100. Um, I kind of a blockchain backer guy, so I'm saying like 72, 75. I can't wait to hear what you say, Llama, but because I know you do your own analysis and love to know more about your thinking on that. But whatever it is, if it goes to newer highs from where we're at now, there's just a lot of wealth out there. And then Splinterlands, yes, it's gone up a ton from like where it used to be in terms of market value, in terms of, attention, player base, all of the things. But I think all of that is just probably more of an attraction to some of those very deep pockets out there. And I was talking to Peak Jarvie through a message on one of my messages on one of my videos. Peak Jarvie, the guy who does Peak Monsters, and he was saying he thinks it could sell out in like 2 weeks.
Yep.
And I put a lot of weight on what he has to say about that. Like it's very conceivable that they just get sold. And what would that do to the game and the long term? Because they're not going to come out with another full pack for a year after that.
Yep.
And if you guys remember when Untamed packs sold out, some of you weren't here then, but Untamed packs, the market was very inexpensive. And then Untamed packs sold out and there was no new pack to look to. And what happened was all of the cards in the marketplace shot up in value because that was the only place people could buy cards to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's great for people who already have cards like me. But I think these cards that we're kind of we've got our nose up at, like something like the Venari Heatsmith, Pellicor Deceiver, Pellicor Bandit, the ones I talk about on my channel all the time because they're super inexpensive compared to other cards. Those things are going to just be skyrocketing in value because these packs are going to be gone and there'll be no way to play the game but for putting together a pack of cards through just these cheaper ones. So there's so much there, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on what we're talking about here. I want
Yeah,
to know more.
well, I'm obviously when the Chaos Legion packs first came out, they were on the market on Hive Engine or peer-to-peer exchange for inflated prices. You know, they were over $20 per pack. The
Yep.
FOMOing in, all that kind of stuff. They're down to $6 something at the moment. But you know what? I'm beginning to think that that's actually not bad value for $6 a pack. Like, I don't think that that's bad value anymore. I think
Mm,
that there's a possibility that they're going to go, if this actually happens with the whales, I think there's a huge possibility that they could be double that within the space of a few months once the pre-sales end and they go to market. I'm worried about. I'm worried. I'm worried. But I'm happy because one way the players are going to be able to profit off this, but is it the right kind of player? Or not even a player, someone who's just purchasing packs to profit off them and
I know.
then resell them back onto the market. So I enjoy the fact that, especially with vouchers, we're able to profit off selling packs. That's amazing that the devs have included us into the profitability of Chaos Legion. That's incredible. But I'm a little bit worried in going forwards about what's going to happen with the small guy. And how he's going to be able to afford to get into this. I actually think that the packs on the peer-to-peer exchange right now are quite well priced. Yes, I understand that they don't have airdrops, but that's fine. You can still get great cards.
Yeah.
I'm also a believer of singles as well, though. And I think that people should be, if there's anyone out there who is thinking about purchasing a ton of Chaos Legion packs, I think that they should have a think about that first and decide on what their aim is in the game. If it's to build a certain splinter, most people when they're renting cards, they perhaps look at maybe two splinters and rent cards of two different splinters, and then they can push themselves up in the ranks to get some decent season rewards and that kind of thing as well. Perhaps doing that is the better way to go rather than purchasing packs, because you're going to get a ton of cards which aren't really going to do anything for you, especially if you're just looking at two splinters. You're going to get a ton of cards. Yes, you can sell them, and you also have the chance of getting a lovely gold foil legendary or something like that. But I think it's going to be a lot cheaper for people just to purchase singles, to focus on building a deck in their specific splinters that they're looking at, and just purchase singles. It's you don't get the great feeling of, oh yes, I get to open packs. There's 5 cards. This could be the pack. This could be the pack that has all the beautiful ones in it. It's and I've learned this through risk management, through trading, and I've been trading most of my life. But you need to make sure that you're doing the right thing for yourself, and it's essentially gambling if you are opening packs. I feel like it's essentially gambling. You're paying a larger outlay when you could be purchasing singles, and I don't think that a lot of people don't understand as well. Do not go out buying singles as soon as Chaos Legion comes out. As we've seen with the reward cards, we've seen with previous sets as well. The FOMO pricing, it's real. All these things go up massively, especially when there's a small amount of circulating cards, which will happen once the pre-sale is ended and once we're able to open packs. There's going to be a smaller supply, just like there was with the reward cards, just like there was with any other of the previous sets. And they go up on the market. People look at the prices, go, yep, okay, yeah, I'm getting a deal. No, just wait. Be patient. Patience in the market is key in any market, and it's so important that we be patient to get those good deals.
Yeah, I completely agree. And one of the things that you can do if you're using peak monsters, you can come in. Maybe Splinterlands has this feature too. I don't know, but you can click on the card that you're interested in. You can see how many copies are available in the marketplace, and that's drawing on all of the available cards from Splinterlands period. So it's like splinterlands.com is peak monsters, whatever website, they're all, the data is compiled, and there are 550 Gargoyle Devils available in the world, and there are a total 102,000 cards out there. and so there's only 550 available for sale. And
Mhm.
so, that knowing that that data is available is going to be important when you come back here later to buy some of those Chaos Legion cards, because you're right. Initially, the cards are going to come out at X amount of money. Sometimes I would argue, though, this is me pushing back a little bit. I would say sometimes the card really ends up being cheaper in the early few days and then grows rapidly in value. But sometimes it ends up being, it comes out really hot. People, especially on cards that are kind of obviously meta, and some cards are obviously meta, and that card launches and then everybody knows it, and what'll happen is, they may leak one or two cards, like they're always trying to show the eye candy. So they'll drop a card, they'll show it in the AMA, and everyone will get excited about that one card, and then there'll be all kinds of talk and blog posts about how great that card is going to be and how that'll work with the meta, and all of that just starts to build this FOMO in people. And then that card will launch, and that price will go crazy right off the bat.
Yep.
But then some cards just die when they launch, because it's 40 new cards or whatever, 50 new cards that come out, and
Right.
and there isn't the appetite for each of them. So you have to have a discerning eye when you come at that marketplace in the early week, or even, you don't want to. I would strongly agree with what you said on the day it launches, because there's just a lack of liquidity. But then even in the second day or the third day, I will be looking around and taking bites.
Surely.
And I'll
And
and
there's
I'll
all.
say, like,
There's,
go ahead.
sorry, yeah, there's always the exception.
Yeah.
And I feel as well, we can make a more educated decision with the more knowledge that we have about this game, the more knowledge of different abilities and all that kind of thing, where you can look at a card and look at its abilities and the levels when it receives these abilities, and make an educated decision based off the knowledge that you have of this game. And I completely agree. There will be some cards which will shoot up in value, but there will be other cards which we're seeing at the moment, which are crazy cheap, and they shouldn't be that cheap. And that's just because people don't understand the value or don't realize the value in those cards.
Yeah, and I remember when the 21 new reward cards launched recently, and I remember I was talking about how excited I was about Naga Assassin, and I bought a full copy on day one, and I paid 60 cents on average. I paid 60 cents per BCX, so I bought 115 copies of this card, roughly 60 cents per BCX.
Yep.
But I bought maybe 10 at $1. I bought several at 20 cents or 40 cents. I bought most of them at 60 cents, and I bought some at 80 cents, I think. I would say it was an average of 60 cents, and today it's at 85 cents. So it's like roughly in that same ballpark, but that's still almost 50% more. And that was one example of a card I still stand by as an amazing card. That's affordable. It's
gorgeous.
affordable today. Yeah,
two mana backfire. I mean, speed as well. That's just amazing with Kitty, isn't it?
Yeah.
I enjoy just sitting that on the back.
Me too.
When we've got Kitty and playing with the +2 speed, you got Inspire as well.
Yeah.
And just getting astronomical amounts of speed. I love the speed meta, full stop. I think that's my favorite way to play Splinterlands at the moment.
So fun. Fun. I had a game today that was it was the iconic battle for me. It's an enraged rule set, and then I could use dragon, I could use black. So I went Kitty, I did Nightmare as my tank, and I had 30 mana points to work with. And remember, Enrage is gonna, when my Nightmare gets hit once, it's gonna go from it's standard 6 speed, +2 for Kitty is 8. And then I've got 4 slows on my team. So I've got 4 monsters that offer slow, 3 monsters that offer slow on my team, maybe 4. And so my enemy is all of them are at 1 speed. And my enraged Nightmare is at 12. So it's
just impossible
so
to hit.
infuriating.
Yeah, because Nightmare's got the phase as well, right? So even with magic damage, there's no chance of hitting.
Yeah,
that's amazing. I love that. Yeah, it's got to be my favorite way to play. But yeah, so I mean, back to the Chaos Legion launch. So what are your thoughts? What are you planning to do?
You brought up a good point. I actually haven't been tracking the Chaos Legion packs anymore. I just they were around $16, and I was like, no way. And these are the packs that, like you said, they will not offer you any sort of airdrops. And I wonder if people were confused about that initially, because even though I was talking about these will not offer you airdrops, and probably everyone that all the main YouTubers were saying these won't give you airdrops, for some reason, I just don't understand the logic behind that. Like, you can't open them. They don't give you airdrops. Yes, they give you some airdrop points, but I don't know. I just don't know why they were selling for so high initially. And now that they
That's
are
crazy.
on Hive Engine, I'm seeing that there's sell orders here for $8.37. That's in the ballpark where I would, be interested. Maybe there's 9 for sale at that price, and I'm actually like maybe kind of tempted. But I've got, first of all, I've got plans to get. I think I need 1,000 packs.
Yep.
But I've decided I'm not going to get 1,000 in the pre-sale because I just don't have the voucher production.
Me
that
as
I
well,
need.
unfortunately. Otherwise, I'd probably be just doing it. I'd bite the bullet and just do it if that were
Totally.
the case. But I
I
think
don't. And
I'm only getting maybe around 100 packs throughout pre-sale. I've got far less SPS stake than you do. I
yeah,
think I've only got around about 14,000. I think if I had the opportunity, I would, because I honestly think that these packs are gonna go crazy,
yeah.
especially
Yeah, I mean,
with the intention
these
of
$8 packs,
whales.
like I think we just talked about how the Untamed $70, the Dice 70, these packs are going to be $80, and
Yep.
it might be a year from now, or it might be 6 months from now, because honestly, in 6 months, every one of these packs could be sold. And once they're all sold, you have to go to the market, the peer-to-peer market, to buy them. I think $8 is probably a very reasonable price.
Yep.
But personally, I think this is a point I wanted to make. Splinterlands right now, there's so many interesting buys right now. Like, these are actually, like, I agree with you. These are decent prices for Chaos Legion packs. But I also want to buy SPS. I also want to buy DEC. I also want to buy current reward cards. I also want to save my vouchers and buy more vouchers and get 1,000 packs, either during, not pre-sale, but probably maybe those first 3 million cards,
Yep.
or as soon, I mean, the day they stop the voucher requirement. And this is something I want to hear your thoughts on too, for sure. I think it's key if you want to buy a good amount of Chaos Legion packs and you want those airdrops. I think the play is on the day they announce
Yep.
Chaos Legion packs are voucher free, you have all your money ready and you buy everything, because
I am
they could sell out
100%.
like that.
Yep, I'm 100% with you on that. And that was my plan. I'm ready to create a timer for when it's going to happen, when the pre-sales ended, and be there the minute that it has ended, because I don't want to be one of those people experiencing I had the money there, but I waited too long. I've had so many regrets with this game already. You see cards on the marketplace and all that kind of thing, where the value has just gone up exponentially, and I've missed out on so many things because I've been dragging my feet. And I promised myself that I'm not going to make that same mistake with Chaos Legion. So I'm going to be there the moment that it opens up for pre-sale. I'm going to buy as many packs as I can, and just go with it. But also the dichotomy between the influx of players and towards packs as well. So 6 months down the way, we've got all this. Let's say that we, as a hypothetical, we've got all these new players. We got perhaps an extra 500,000, million, 2 million players, or whatever it is, 6 months down the road. They're all going to be wanting to start somewhere, right? They're all going to be wanting to purchase packs. If there's no Chaos Legion at that time, or we're waiting for the next set to come out, what's happening in the meantime? People are going to be jumping on the peer-to-peer exchange, on the Hive Engine market, looking for packs to purchase, looking for assets to purchase to make sure that they can be a part of the game if they enjoy the game and see the value as both you and I do. So when that happens as well, surely there's going to be an increase in the value of the prices too.
Yeah, and there will be Rift Watchers. That's the next one, I think.
That's right. Yeah.
But that's a mini release. It's not going to be as big as Chaos Legion. And Chaos Legion is gonna do a lot of things. It's gonna change the meta drastically. It's gonna introduce, not right away, but very soon after, it's gonna introduce that new division between Wild and Modern. And that's going to change the earning potential for you in this game. So you need to have cards that are meaningful and powerful, hopefully at a silver level or better, I would say. I mean, because you're going to want to compete on both leagues. You don't just want to focus on the modern, because there's going to be a certain amount of DEC earning potential there, and there's going to be other DEC earning potential in the other market, and you can use modern cards in the wild format. So this is something I keep saying, but I know there's so many new players and they don't get that yet. They think modern is going to be new cards and wild is going to be old cards. I don't care about old cards, are too expensive, so I'm not going to think about that. No, you need to think about your collection power. You need to think about maybe getting a few key betas and alphas, and getting your deck in a row so that when this division happens, because that's like the next thing after. It's gonna be Chaos Legions, huge, and then 2 months later, probably 3 months later, we're gonna get this division, and it's gonna double overnight. It's gonna double your DEC earning potential if you've got the right cards, the right power, and whatnot. And so I think that's maybe a super important point to talk about.
Yeah, those reward pools are going to be incredible, especially for players like yourself with a large myriad of different cards and different sets and things as well. That's just going to increase the profitability massively. But what are your thoughts on this? Do you think that players, because I know that the devs have mentioned that, you know, Chaos Legion's going to have everything that a new player could need. But as you mentioned just now, is it worthwhile investing into other sets as well to make sure that you get both parts of the reward pool, and modern and the wild format?
The one thing that I think is important for me to say there is that I believe them when they say that the new Chaos Legion will be self-sustaining almost. Like you could play that and it'll allow you to enjoy both leagues. So you might say, well, then I'm just gonna skip the betas and the alphas. But you have to remember that they also said that the modern league is gonna have a different power structure than the wild league. So what does that mean? Well, when we go over to Splinterlands and you look at the leagues, you know that Silver 3 requires 15,000 power. And that's what people have been shooting for. That's like the white whale, because bronze is so non-productive. But everyone wants 15,000 power right now. But that's the power rating for this league. For this is what right now we're playing in, what is essentially the wild. But they're going to make a modern, and these power levels are going to be lower there because the new cards have lower power. So they have to rethink that. They've said they're gonna. And so you might have 15,000 power worth of new cards, and maybe that competes in gold. I don't really know. And then you bring it over to the wild, and it's like it's maybe, it's like high bronze, low silver. You're barely there, and whereas like just a couple betas, which are not necessarily super expensive, and if you're playing at that low level, like there are like $5 or $10 cards that can make a difference for you. And so that's where I come into it. But trying to stay focused on Chaos Legion, I am super excited about, just redefining my power in a new way through those cards. Because I think this is a point we haven't talked about yet. Kind of have, kind of haven't. I think when Chaos Legion launches, we're going to find, like when the packs actually open, you're going to find, and especially as those new airdrops start coming out, you're going to find that there's a whole, like a redefinition of what the meta is. And it's in some ways, it's going to be similar, of course. Like some of the cards that are great now are still going to be great then. But there's going to be new cards, and there's going to be new abilities, and there's going to be new ways to imagine those interacting with one another. And there's going to be new rule sets also. And all of that is going to change how you approach a battle. And in the same way that Jotun started changing how the red team worked and, the cards you really needed. And same with Kitty and how it transformed speed. I think that's going to happen again. And so it's important to remember that, because it's going to be an opportunity. Whenever there's like new churn, like, a mixing of the system, there's an opportunity for people who are paying attention to exploit that moment and find really affordable things that are being ignored, whether it's packs, like you just pointed out with these Chaos Legion packs. I think that's a really good price. That's actually I think that's churn. And I think in several months, people who bought we're going to look back at the video and be like, $8. They were $8.
Yeah, yep.
You know?
100%.
But
I also think
yeah,
as well that because we're going to, just like you said, because we're going to experience a bit of a change in meta once Chaos Legion comes out. I think there's going to be a time between Chaos Legion and between, obviously, they've mentioned this in the AMA recently as well, before they bring out the modern and wild format. So a time, I would say, if in December Chaos Legion's going to come out, then perhaps Q1 sometime, the modern
yeah,
and wild format will
yeah,
be released as well. Now, I think at that moment, once Chaos Legion's out and we understand a little bit more with the meta of around gameplay and what's going to be changing, it may be a great opportunity around that time to perhaps purchase older cards, because we're going to, number one, we're going to have a larger circulation of cards within the market, which I think could possibly bring down costs of perhaps older cards which have fallen out of the meta a little bit. And
that's an interesting point.
with that, then we can look at within that time period, and presumably it'll be quite a small time period, but people aren't at that moment in time. People aren't necessarily thinking about, okay, well, modern and wild format, and let's make sure that I have cards on both sides of the fence. People aren't necessarily thinking about that. They're thinking about the current meta and what's happening in the meta, and getting the best cards for the meta at the time. So that might be a short window there where we have the opportunity to purchase these beta or alpha or untamed cards at a cheaper price once the meta's changed, and some of these cards aren't as prevalent or, prudent to use within your deck. They might decrease in price a little bit. Obviously, this is complete speculation, but
Yeah,
that could also be
yeah,
on the cards as well.
I could see that happening, and it might be some balance of that happens with some cards, and other cards it's like the exact opposite,
Right.
because just some, as we were kind of saying earlier, the attention of the people that like this game is like on one spot at a given moment, and it's almost like we're ignoring everything else. It's like
Yeah.
the vouchers were selling for $25 like a week ago,
Yeah.
and now they're 12 or whatever. And the Chaos Legion packs that had no airdrops were selling for like 16 or 18 or 20 or something.
Yeah.
Uh,
There's no foresight, right?
yeah. It's just like a cat with like tracking the laser.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like there will be, and that's the churn I was talking about. It's like there's these moments where there's so much chaos, no pun actually intended there, but there's so much happening between new cards, like the reward cards, the new expansion, the division of the league, where some people's attention is still on land. Brawls have been dramatically changing and trying to learn and understand that. And there's hundreds of thousands of new players getting into the game. So there's so much learning curve that the attention for the community isn't necessarily on the thing, like all of the really great buys. And so it takes a degree of time of like chill for everyone to say, there's a deal over here, guys. And then it starts, that is no longer a deal quickly. But yeah, there'll definitely be opportunities. And I think you just need, but I did a recent video and I was like, I think it was called Modern versus Wild, like prepare now. And it's a 30-minute video. And I talked about certain beta cards being helpful to you. And one of them that comes to mind right now is the Wood Nymph. And it's like, it's not a cheap card. But you're not going to have access to this old reward. It's an old reward card. You're not going to get it.
And brilliant card.
And it's a tank healer right out the gate. And a ton of our viewers they play at silver, they play at bronze. A tank heal out of the gate is unique. It's actually, I don't know that there are any other, at the silver or bronze, there's very few tank heal. I'm probably forgetting some, and I should open up Splinter cards to make certain, but I'm not going to right now. But right at level 1 BCX gives you a tank heal and 1 magic damage and two hit points. So it's quite vulnerable, but it's only a 4 mana cost card. And right now you can buy one for about $10, $10. And of course that's not cheap, but it's just a card. I think there's cards like that, and another one that comes to mind on the green team is the,
Brownie? What about Brownie? Give some love to Brownie. Amazing.
Brownie is amazing. You're right. Brownie is definitely me. I think isn't it really better at like a high, like I'm gonna click on it right now. Brownie, when it gets that inspire,
Inspire,
that's
yeah, Inspire. That's where he really takes off.
level 4, I guess. And I think I have like a champion level deck, but I use a level 4 Brownie, I'm pretty sure. Because that's one of those moments where the people need to understand too. This is a bit of a digression, but every card has its breakpoints. And there are certain times where, you don't really care if you get the max level version, even if you're playing at champion, or if you're playing at bronze or gold, you can still use a really low level copy.
I
Because,
can,
for instance,
yeah, I can
go
speak.
ahead.
Sorry, yeah, I can speak as an example here. Even in Diamond League, I'm using a level one Brownie, basically whenever I play Earth. And that still works, like I'm still winning battles in Diamond with that. So yeah, you don't
Furious Chicken too.
what's that, sorry?
Furious Chicken's another one.
Yeah, perfect. Furious Chicken as well with 0 mana cost. I mean, come on, that's incredible to add him as just to take a hit on either side, on whether it's sneak, whether it's opportunity, whether it's or at the front before you tank if you've got a slow tank. That's an amazing card. And I think that's one of the staples in any deck. I honestly think that if you do not have a Furious Chicken, you need to go out and get one. Because this card just has so many different applications and can save you in so many different battle rule sets.
Yeah, I agree. I think I had a max level Furious Chicken, or maybe almost max. And that was back when chicken was like 10 or 20 cents per BCX. Um, and
I came in when he was about, I don't know, $2.50 or something like that. But at the time when I came in, I didn't understand the leveling of cards. I didn't understand how it worked, that I needed to purchase more cards to combine them to get higher levels. I thought initially that the more that you play these cards, the higher the level gets.
So did I at first.
Yeah, right. So I was reluctant to purchase more than one, and that hurt me in the long run. So yeah, I guess to anyone new who's watching this, that's not how the game works. You must purchase multiple cards to level them up and to gain the abilities, which you can see in the stats section when you look at the cards on the Splinterlands user interface. But yes, it's important to purchase more cards so you can level them up. And now's obviously, just incidentally, now's a great time to purchase some of those cheap reward cards so you can max them out and get all the abilities which are available on those.
Yeah, and anybody looking at this video on my screen later is going to see that I'm on Peak Monsters right now, and I'm looking at the different reward cards now. And each individual card that you receive from a reward is called like 1BCX. And every card needs a certain amount of BCX to be merged together to reach the second level, the third, the fourth, the fifth, all the way to its max version. And each level is going to unlock certain abilities and certain buffs or debuffs that impact your enemy. Every level changes the ability of that unit. And so you need to buy more and more copies or earn more and more copies of that thing by playing the game. And then you need to merge them, which is important for two reasons. One, you need to understand just so you can get better and have build stronger monsters. But two, you need to understand that how that works, because that's one of the unique, amazing things about this game, because it's a supply demand issue. There are I just looked earlier today. There are 400,000 copies of the Nightmare card. Like I said, that's one of my favorite cards. It's a good tank. It's great. It's fast, and it's good. It's a good monster. There are 400,000 cards that were ever made for that thing. There will never be more. That's it. Period. And then it takes 400 copies.
Sorry, just to interject there. How many copies do you have there, Dwayne?
I do have on that one. I have. Let's see. I'm not logged in, but I have a full max copy, so 400. And then I have probably another 100, maybe.
Yep.
That's yes, though, something like that. So
what you're saying then is if you burn all of your cards, then everyone else who's holding them, the price will go up in value. Is that the right thing to do? No, I'm just kidding. But yes, go ahead.
But in a sense, though, that's important to point out, because it's like when I put 400 copies into one copy, they can never be divided again. And then what does that mean? There's 399 copies that can't be bought by you. And so that's a supply issue. We lose supply because we've contracted this. We pushed them together. We merged them. And in the old days, people literally burnt cards. You could burn your card and get DEC out of that.
You still can do that, but I think it's an incredibly stupid thing to do if you were thinking about that. Yes, we definitely don't advise on doing that.
I think at times it paid you more. But my point was just that there's a limited number, and understanding this whole BCX system is important because you begin to really recognize that they're limited number, but that's actually a decreasing number also as the year goes on and years go on.
Yep, definitely supply and demand. It's quite simple. And when you lose that circulation, obviously the prices increase, and which I guess is going to bring me to my next point: land. What are our thoughts on land? Personally, I think this is probably the most bullish asset in the Splinterlands ecosystem of tokens. I think with its 150,000 supply, and continuously Ags has said it, continuously other developers have said it, they are not going to be releasing any more land. And so for the newer players, basically land is going to be an asset where you can essentially mint item and spell cards, which will change the outcome of battle. So, you're going to be able to start a battle, and then you're going to be able to have these spell cards where you can use them to change the outcourse of that battle. So for instance, sometimes someone else plays water and you're not prepared for magic to play against magic. You don't have anything to reflect magic. You haven't got any void or something like that. I could see that, later on down the track, once these item and spell cards are minted, you could perhaps essentially add, magic reflect to your team or something like that through one of these spell or item cards. Is that the way that it's going to work, do you think? Or
yes. Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm hugely bullish on land, and I own 100 plots, and I wish I owned 1,000. But that's how it's going to work. They're going to produce items and spells, and I'm on my end. I'm looking at PeakD, the blog post that goes back, to October 17th, 2020, and it's the original post where Splinterlands talked about what land was and what it would be, and they've said this clearly and repeatedly, that land will be the only way you will ever be able to accumulate the assets that create items and spells. And so to Llama's point, those are going to dramatically impact those items and spells that come out of these resources that are grown on that land are going to dramatically transform your ability to win rank battles. How? Because like Llama was pointing out, you're going to go into a battle and you're going to submit your team. That's the first step. But that's not done yet. Like right now, when you submit your team, they just battle, right? That's it. You just see the battle and somebody wins. But moving forward, when land comes out and these items and spells launch, they're going to introduce this new function where it'll be 2 minutes to pick your team, and then it'll be 1 or 2 minutes to amend your team using items and spells. And so you'll be able to, if you have them, these resources, you'll be able to have to deploy an item or a spell that can transform the outcome of that game, turning it a loss into a victory. And what would that do for your rank position, right? Of course, it could make you reach higher and higher ranks, receiving more and more DC or SPS and on and on. So it's got to be said again, the only way you get those resources is by owning land. And there's not enough land. Like like you just said, 150,000 is not enough for 700,000. I was just looking at the data. There are 500,000. There was 508,000 daily active players today playing Splinterlands. 508, so over 500,000. And then you can see other data on peakmonsters.com that'll give you. You can see how many battles were fought or how many transactions. But 500,000 daily active players today, and I'm sure that's going to be over 1 million in very near future.
Yep.
The way it's been growing, and the number of new players, the new accounts is also data that I'm looking at right now, and it's like 4,400, 5,100. These are spell books that are being sold every day. 6,800, 6,900, and it goes like that for the last month. So it's like every day 5,000 to 10,000 new people are investing in this game $10 to get a spell book. So the growth here is crazy, and some of these people
That
are
that
going to want land.
that contrast, yeah, the contrast of the numbers and the influx of people joining the game to the availability of the land and the supply of land that's ever going to come out. I mean, that's incredible. And
Yeah,
we've seen something like this happen with I don't play Axie Infinity, but I've read some articles about it and the costs of land in those games with a similar sort of supply. And you know, some of these blocks or plots of land, I think eight plots sold recently for over $6 million. I'm not saying that that's going to happen with Splinterlands. I mean, it would be fantastic if it ever did, but these lands are going to be so scarce,
yeah,
and they're going to be such a pivotal part of the game. We need these cards. This is going to increase the skill bracket as well, because
yeah.
making sure that you choose the right items and spell cards,
That's right.
depending on what you're playing, and to counter your opposition, they're going to completely change the skill level of the game, which is incredible. It's just going to add that extra depth to the game,
Yeah.
and you know, for those who understand the game more, can perhaps squeeze a few more W's out of it.
Yeah, and there's a whole new revenue stream with respect to the land, the resource generation on that land, and then there's going to be like I don't know if you ever played. Oh man, I'm skipping my. It just feels like it's going to be another mini game. Like it's going to be.
Yep.
It's not just Splinterlands anymore. If you think of Splinterlands and you think card-based battle game, yes, it is, but it's also more than that. Like the brawl system is its own thing. It has its own reward system. It's a mini game. Land is going to be its own thing with its own reward system. It's a mini game, and they all feed into this ecosystem. And so you're going to be these crosswinds are going to benefit you in different ways. If you've got this and that, you're gonna benefit in several different ways. But it's the crazy thing about land. The prices right now, like they're selling for $860 right now. You can buy one plot on Hive Engine, and they sold for $10 or $15 during the pre-sale. Oh, that's what I wanted to say earlier. You were talking about Chaos Legion and how you want to buy a ton of Chaos Legion packs. This relates to land. When the pre-sale happened, I was there. I was in front of my computer. I was set up. I was ready to go. It didn't matter. It was sold that fast. I was literally sitting at my desk. I was ready to go. I had my order input, and within like the 5 seconds it took the system to process my request, it was gone. And so
it would be, sorry, just to interject here. It would be interesting to see the math behind the amount of players at that time and the amount of plots of land to now with the amount of players at this time to the amount of Chaos Legion packs that are going to be sold. It would be interesting to see the contrast between those two. But yes, go ahead. Sorry.
Just I think I was going to say I don't know if there's going to be a way. I'm actually concerned that the Chaos Legion packs will sell out on that first day. And I saw it happen with land, but mind you, there was way less land. I know there's going to be 13 or 12 million more packs. So I'm probably overreacting here, but my heart is like, and the FOMO in me is real. So I'm trying to subdue that because I think there's going to be at least a couple weeks, I think, right?
Either way, I don't think that if you purchase them on the first day, you're not hurting anyone by doing that, because that's still going to cost the same amount, regardless whether you purchase them on that first day or whether you purchase them a week down the road if there's any packs left. But you know, the advice I would give to anyone is, if you are serious about this game and looking to play and profit as well over the long term, then perhaps you should be ready for this, as we've been talking about with land as well. I wish I caught that. I wish I was there for that. I've had to purchase plots of land off the Hive Exchange, and I'm willing to do that. Luckily, I got a few at around $380, but you know, it's not going to be there forever. And we're gonna have this conversation, I guarantee you, a couple of weeks after Chaos Legion's released, and I think we're going to be all trying to, you know, scrape the bottom of the barrel and find those extra packs to make sure that we've got enough. That's my thoughts, but you know, I think things could change.
I think on land, I should also say, maybe you know this, you probably do, but not everybody will. Land is like a card. So you get every plot is like like, when you open a booster pack of Chaos Legion cards or Untamed cards,
Yeah.
it's like that little logo on the screen, and it's like, oh, I'm going to open this pack, and it opens, and there's an animation.
Different
and you
rarities,
get-
right?
Yeah. Well, the land is going to be like that too. There's going to be one card inside. It's going to say, on my screen, I'm looking at one of them. It says Abundant Forest, and it'll have a cool little picture of a hut that is collecting wood or whatever. And so you learn in that moment, you learn the rarity of the piece of land that you own. It can be common, rare, epic, and legendary. You also learn what sort of resources it's producing, and there's different resources, and there's it says that some land plots will be magical, which means they will be rich in one of 6 magical resources, each associated with one type of the splinter, one type of splinter magic: life, death, earth, fire, and so on. And then there's other plots that will be occupied. That's the phrase, occupied, which means they will be inhabited by wild monsters, and players can battle these monsters to extract their essences, which will be the second necessary component to minting items and spells. So you're going to need those magical items, and you're going to need these souls or whatever they're called. And so
I like the sound of that, by the way, as well, because we're obviously going to have neutral land which we can attack, and essentially I assume that it'll be somewhat like a normal ranked battle. So you'll have a bunch of monsters where you'll have a battlefield, and you'll fight those monsters with your own cards, and then be able to extract those essences to use in conjunction with your lands. But yes, sorry, go ahead.
So understanding kind of how each one of these cards can be different, and then actually leveled up, because there's buildings on them, and then there can be totems on them, and then there can be castles or keeps on them. There's so much diversification and development that can go into these, in the same way as any of your monster cards, where you can have a level 1 or a level 8, and that's a gigantic difference. You can have a legendary or a common, and it's a gigantic difference. These things are going to have that too. And so when you buy a plot of land for $800 now, understand that it might be a common, like really crappy one. And maybe it'll end up being sold. I think these prices will be cheap in the future if land turns out to be what I think it's going to be. And I say this, I need to, I guess, be super clear. I'm not telling people they should go out and buy land. But personally, I bought land because I believe deeply in the developers and the future of this game. And if that's your view of this also, then taking seriously this blog post that's from October of 2020, and looking at what this thing is going to represent and offer is really, really important, because there isn't enough, and each one of them is going to offer a resource that you can get no other way. And that's going to be a revenue source for you, not to mention the price appreciation of these super rare assets, land plots, some of which you're going to open. It's going to be that, like, picture you open an Untamed pack today and you get a gold foil Jotun. Like, that's what could happen in the future when you open these land, and that's highly unlikely. But I'm saying it's going to happen to someone.
Oh well, I don't know about that. Look, I only own 4 plots or something, but I'm pretty sure and certain that my 4 are going to be legendary.
I hope so.
We can dream. But yeah, you're right. They were going to be extremely rare. But
extremely.
As well, though, the fact that, if you're not interested in the spell cards and item cards, or if you're just looking at it as an investment way or a way to diversify your assets, then they can also be used as a passive income, where you can rent out your lands to other players,
Great.
and then they can do all the work for you if you prefer it that way.
It's so exciting, and it's probably important for me and maybe us to say now, we don't know that this is going to come to fruition as we're expecting it to. Like, we are assuming that the developers are going to stand true to what they've stated, and that the developer team will build out this interconnected nature that we're almost counting on. But I have a degree of confidence in the developers based on the previous what I've seen them do, and how I've seen them incorporate SPS and they're talking about incorporating it into the battle mechanism, and it's causing these airdrops to give me these vouchers, and then so I feel like and they give more points for old cards. There's probably 5 or 6 things I could list off, and those were 3 or 4 right there, that indicate that they've thought thoroughly about instilling and securing the importance of things they've already created in new things that they're going to create. Like cards are going to have to mine these, like your monsters and your summoners are going to have to mine these lands. That's another way. It's all interconnected. It's been thoughtfully planned in a way that will cause utility for the cards, for the land, for the SPS and for the DC. It's like, to me, I've seen enough that I believe in them. But everyone at home needs to decide if you agree with that statement. Do you think these developers have done enough to show you that they are going to build this out the way they're saying? If you think yes, and if you see what I'm seeing with this land thing, then maybe you want to take a closer look. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, definitely. And as you say, I definitely do agree. As we've seen previously and just historically, their actions throughout Splinterlands and watching the AMAs as well. That's a great way, by the way, guys. If you haven't watched any of the AMAs, you should definitely tune in if you're interested in the game and what's coming up with the game. But you really get an understanding of when the developers talk candidly, you get an understanding of what their priorities are. And I can see that one of their main priorities is retaining the value of the assets in the game. They're always making changes to make sure that we can retain those assets. They understand that this is a living and breathing economy, and things can break this economy, just like in the real world as well. So, that they're doing everything that they possibly can to make sure that our assets retain their value, whether it's our cards, whether it's SPS, whether it's DEC, or well, not so much DEC, I guess, because that wasn't designed that way. But every other asset in the game, they're really trying to take a priority to make sure that they retain their values, which is great, and that's the way that it should be. And there may be some people who disagree with me, who are in perhaps bronze and novice league and things, and really struggling at the moment to get through with the change of reward values and things like that have happened recently. But I promise you, if you stick with this game and you intend on playing it over a long period of time, then this is actually within your interests.
Yeah.
This is for things like bots, for instance, where people have the power to make thousands or tens upon thousands of bots to farm all the DEC rewards and to farm all the cards that are coming out. We don't want that. We don't want that in our game. And this is one of the ways that they can control that and can control the economy to make sure that we do retain the values of our assets.
Yeah. You touched on it. Like there's an audience that feels like they're being excluded, slighted, and I think in part that's because they don't understand that the preservation of this economy is at stake, and that if they themselves are going to be here in 3 years and really have a vision for reaping the rewards of this system and of this game, like meaningful rewards. I don't mean like $50 or $100. I mean like tens of thousands. If you're playing I've made hundreds. I have like over $100,000 worth of cards. So if you're serious about playing this for years, I played for 3 years. I played every single day. I've accumulated cards and DEC and SPS through that process. And I didn't start with a huge amount of investment. It was like $5,000 over the course of a year or so. And so there's meaningful growth here, but understand that if you're starting at square one and you think they're holding down the bronze and the novice leagues in a bad way, understand that if they don't, and like you just pointed out, those bots continue to do what they're doing, they're going to actually going to undercut and rot the economy, which will be a problem for you, new player, who wants to start today and be here in 3 years and see that the value you've accumulated by then means something. It likely won't if the erosion of that economy is allowed to happen by DEC farming that really sucks off all the, takes off all that value out of the hands of people like you and me who play it and enjoy it. So anyways, I feel strongly about that. And I think the devs are doing their best to preserve the opportunity for new people, but also the opportunity for the old people. That's how I see it.
Yep. Have you got anything on your mind that you want to talk about? I
mean, there's so many things with this game, but not Not really, no.
Let me help you. Okay,
Yeah.
what about, have you heard about the changes that they plan on implementing? And this was just spoken about recently in the AMA towards skins. I don't know if this was an accident by Ags. He sometimes he generally slips up a little bit and maybe says a few things too much to people. But he was mentioning that they were leaning towards using, you know, the skins in game where you can purchase skins for different cards. Yep. So basically, guys, if you don't know what they are, within the gaming interface, you can actually purchase skins, which are a DEC cost, but they change the look of your creatures, essentially.
Yep.
But he was mentioning on the AMA that they're leaning towards using them to slow down or stop the rate of your ECR.
You would be allowed to earn, like, you could play the game longer each day because you have
Correct.
skins. Is that
Yeah. What are your
I
thoughts on
didn't
that?
see that part. No.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. I thought that was extremely interesting, and I immediately I went to the skin market and looked at the skins, and there's still a lot there, but I think that they could perhaps go quite quickly. If you can use like healers or things like that, where you're going to use them in most battles, if the battle rule sets allow them, why wouldn't people just purchase these so that they can slow down their ECR and play for longer, or increase the amount of profits that they can make off this game, essentially?
Yeah, I would agree. And that I feel like that's actually really connected to what we were just talking about, because it's like another example of how the developers see an asset they created, which I'm looking at the skins right now. They're beautiful. And I've often thought they're beautiful. But I say to myself, well, first of all, not all of them are beautiful. Some of them are amazing. Some of them are a little bit not my favorite.
Yep.
But many of them I want, and I've wanted for a long time. One of my favorites is the Pit Ogre. I'm looking at it right now. It's so friggin' cool.
Yep. Right.
But it's 5,000 DC.
Exactly. And what's the point? What's the point? If it has no use case, then it's essentially just an aesthetically pleasing addition, you know, and that's all that it offers. But I think he may have tripped up just recently in the AMA and said, well, we're always looking at using them as to stop or slow down the rate of ECR.
Definitely, that went over my head. I think I didn't really take that in.
Okay, yeah, well, that sounds interesting, and we might see some of those reserves deplete off the skin area.
Many of them are already sold out, and I've been looking at this for the longest time, and I keep saying, even before DEC went crazy, I was like, you know, some of these are really cool, and they're not going to be issued again, and they've got limited number. Like the Pit Ogre that I was talking about, there's 332 sold. No, 332 are left out of 500, but only 500, like ever. And then like the Elemental Phoenix had 100. They sold out a long time ago, but I don't know. I mean, yeah, it'd be hard for me to personally spend that money because there's so many things with this game.
That's right. And it's hard to part with that DEC, especially right now. Yeah. At the prices that DEC's at, because obviously, you know, we've seen a bit of a drop recently. And a lot of people have been holding that DEC since before the drop. So to make sure that you get the most out of that, you don't potentially want to be looking at purchasing things with that DEC right now, unless you're refilling it immediately with other DEC. But yeah, I could also see it going down the road where perhaps there's some more skins for Chaos Legion, and then, you know, they increase these older ones, which have been on the market for a while. Perhaps they increase the rate or the slowdown of the ECR with these older ones, as opposed to the Chaos Legion ones, where they have a slightly different outset.
Yeah, I think what you're just talking about makes me wonder what you think about where DEC is going to go and how you feel about, you know, are you worried about the return to what's the word? The
parity?
Yeah, the $1,000. You know, it used to be 1,000 DC equals $1. That was what it was intended to be. Now it's 100 equals $1. And like, do you think it's going to go back? Are you thinking it's just going to disconnect because of market pressures, or is it just the SPS airdrop that's causing this, or what are your thoughts?
I'm starting to believe in DEC more and more every day, to be honest.
Yeah.
And seeing it, it's kind of like with Ethereum and Bitcoin, they are somewhat connected, aren't they? And when SPS increases, likely with Bitcoin, and Ethereum also increases, and so forth with DEC. So, I mean, I'm obviously a huge believer in SPS. I think there's great value in SPS. I think it's going to increase. My long term outlook for SPS is bullish, but time in the market is better than timing the market, basically.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
while the price is going down for the people who aren't so experienced, then purchasing small parcels at these levels while it's going down is not a bad option at all. You're averaging in your purchase, and the lower it goes, you're averaging in at a lower price altogether. So I think that's a great way to invest. You can do that over a long period of time if you have a bullish outlook, or you think that an asset's going to increase in price. We can forget about the technical analysis. We can forget about trying to fine tune our entries and exits, and just stay in the market for longer, rather than trying to time exactly where we're going to fall. And essentially that's very difficult to do. And it's and you can have yourself just catching a falling knife at some stages, where as if you're buying small parcels at different levels and just tuning in a little amount here and there, then ultimately, if you think that the asset has a bullish outlook, then you're going to be profitable over that period of time.
Yeah. That's how I take it. And there's probably margin I'm leaving on the table because I'm not thinking through what might happen in the next shorter period of time, and maybe what some influences that could be measured or tracked. And because if we can measure and track some of the things we're talking about, and be cognizant of them happening, then maybe that changes what you do and that allows you to benefit more. But then I just say, I don't know. I don't have the expertise to read those signals, and so then I just end up saying, I'm just gonna like do the DCA thing. That's where I end up.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think as well with DEC and SPS, I guess as well, is that they're relatively new tokens, and technical analysis is based off the fractal nature of markets and how markets repeat. We see patterns in markets which repeat over long periods of time. And because, what SPS and DEC in July this year, there's not a lot of data to work off.
That's right.
With most markets, for instance, foreign currency, even some cryptos, have been going for some time now, Bitcoin and that kind of thing as well. We can analyze those assets and see with quite a high degree whether a certain pattern or a certain way that the market moves is going to be profitable, because we can look at that and back test it and see how many times what the profitability rate or the win rate was off that specific move. We can do that with these assets which have been around for a long time or a long period of time. With SPS and DEC, it's a little bit more difficult. We've only got data from July. There's not a lot to go off. So you can do these, especially when they're not on any big exchanges as well. So there is the potential to have a lot of manipulation with whales coming in and influencing the prices. Once they're on bigger exchanges, generally institutions and things take over, and then we see these continuous fractal patterns in the markets which reoccur continuously, and we can say with a higher degree of where price is going to go. But that's just not possible at the moment because of the lack of, I guess, exposure that SPS and DEC has to the greater market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've noticed that in my short time. Like, I've been in crypto since 2017, and like before Bitcoin went to 20, and I was buying around 3 for the first time I was getting into crypto. $3,000 Bitcoin US dollar. And I was excited about all the different altcoins. I didn't know really what I was getting to. I'm learning on the go. This one sounds interesting. I'll buy a little of that. And I'm in and out. I'm in and out. I'm trading. And one thing that I feel I learned was that there's you need a new coin especially, and it sounds like what you were kind of saying this just a moment ago. New coins need time to find their floors before you can really say like you can start to see trends, and it's like it's too new to really like it could pop up to $2 and then it could fall down to 10 cents and then maybe find a floor and then start to build its way out, and then you start to have a better sense of where it could end up. But that's it doesn't happen over days or weeks. It's like that happens over months and sometimes over years. And is that kind of what you would
Yeah,
like, is that kind of what you're saying?
definitely. I think that's generally where accumulation happens. And by accumulation, I mean smart money coming into the market. What they do is they look for sell orders and they put small purchase orders into the market, not to push the price up immediately, but to get the best possible value that they can and to accumulate the most of an asset that they can at
Yeah.
the cheapest price. So
Yeah.
and that's why when you see a consolidation in a market where a price is just ranging within the same sort of 5 to 10 cent period, right? That's when the whales are looking for sell orders in a market, and they're putting small buy orders in, not to increase the price massively, but just waiting and continuing to accumulate assets. And then when they're ready, once they own enough of that asset, then they pull the trigger and basically the market starts increasing in value. And this happens at the top of markets as well in the same way, but it's called distribution, where the institutions or whales are looking for, they're selling, they're waiting for small buy orders at the top of the market, and then they're selling small packages continuously until they've sold enough, and then they'll put their foot on the pedal and let the market drop.
Wow. I've heard people talk about this stuff before, but I've never like thought so much about it before. And I think I've just told myself almost like I think I've disregarded it, and because the way you're making it sound, and maybe I'm putting words in your mouth, but it sounds to me like it's super common to just play for big money, to play it in this way, and it's happening all around us. And if you can, sometimes there are little kernels that are like breadcrumbs that are left that allow you to see that trail, or somebody who's got a discerning eye to see that. And it doesn't mean you can predict where it's going to go, but it might mean that you soon. It might mean that my wife is at the door. She's like, come to
Sorry.
bed.
Yeah, sorry about
No,
that.
it's okay. No, it's good. It's been nice. But it just seems like, is that what you're saying? Like you see these breadcrumbs and you
Yep.
let that influence your decision?
Yeah, that's right. Because you need to know if a whale is in the market, and you're right. This happens all the time. Basically, institutions and whales want to see pain in the retail clients, like yourself and myself. They want to inflict pain because they want to be profitable. And if they don't inflict pain, they're not doing their job correctly. Which is a real shame, but that's how it is, and that's how it's been with banks and until this decentralization. I'm worried as well that, in the recent dip that we've seen in Bitcoin, I'm worried that a lot of the institutions are getting their beaks wet now. They're being forced to get into cryptocurrencies because of a lot of the assets that they manage. A lot of these people want to be in this big or this crazy new asset that's revolutionized the market. Their hands being forced to get into positions of cryptocurrency. And this latest dip is a little bit worrying because I know that in the dip there have been a lot of institutions which are filling their books with a lot of these assets, and that means that a few years ago this happened less. The markets were less manipulated, but as soon as institutions and whales jump in an asset, it opens things up for more manipulation, and then that hurts us as an effect.
I see what you mean. Interesting, really interesting.
Anyway, awesome to talk to you, man. Thanks so much for jumping on with us. Just a quick one as well, guys. Anyone who's listening to this video, I've got something special lined up. and I haven't actually spoken to Dwayne about this, but I've organized for us to get a few beta packs. So what I was thinking about doing was that so Dwayne and I are going to both do a giveaway of a beta pack in our respective community Discord channels. So be sure to check out the comment section of this video, guys. Come and join our Discords. There'll be more about that in due course, but we're going to have some beta packs to give out on our Discord channel. So check it out. These packs are going for crazy amounts now. I think maybe $140, $160 or something. One of those packs could be yours, guys. All you need to do is join both of our Discords, and we'll keep you in the loop and give you more information about that as that comes.
Awesome. That's amazing. Yeah, $143 according to Hive Engine.
Nice.
And that's crazy.
And that can be yours for free. All you need to do is just jump in our Discords. But yeah, all right, Dwayne, I'll let you go to sleep. I understand it's quite late there. It's been really cool talking to you, man. Hopefully we get to do it again soon, and take care of yourself. Enjoy the rest of your Halloween with your wife, and I will talk to you soon.
I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad we did it, and I look forward to doing it again. And thanks for everything.
Awesome.